What? Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.
What's up, Fantasy Points? This is the DFS cage match where every week you're going to find myself and Jake Tribby and a rotating guest here drafting teams against each other on DraftKings. This is going to be a snake draft. We're going to be drafting within the salary cap on DraftKings, and we're going to be drafting for charity. Each of us chooses a charity, and whoever wins, Fantasy Points will donate $100 to the charity of the winner's choice. Now, last week I came in hot. I made the announcement that I had never been third place in this contest. And I need to apologize to my fans because I know you guys wanted me to just never get third place, but I jinxed myself and last week did in fact come in third place for the first time in the 19th try. Both people I drafted against beat me. Jake, are you feeling triumphant after beating me last week? You still got second place, so you didn't actually win, but you did beat me. How are you feeling?
Yeah, that's 3 straight second place finishes for me. You can say a lot about my cage match performance over the years, but I'm certainly consistent. So that's what I can hang my hat on this week, along with beating Neil, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a rarity. It's a rarity for Jake to beat me. So congrats on the win. We also have my old pal Emac is here, who I've worked with in the past. We have not really worked together much. We talked briefly for like 5 minutes. You joined me on a show in the Flaniverse over the summer. We have not seen much of each other for the past year and a half. So it's good to see you, old friend. How you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Thank you for bringing me along for the fun here. Hopefully I can represent the guests well in this unique format that we don't get to play around in. This is a fun little hybrid one. Pride is on the line. So thank you to
a lot of pride
for including me here.
Yeah, a lot of pride on the line. Emac, have you run any marathons recently? I believe you were running marathons, or am I thinking, or was your wife? Your wife was running marathons. Yes. Okay.
Half marathon. Right. She ended up doing 228, I think is where she left off. So
okay. Not bad.
All 50 states and a couple countries.
Wow. Impressive.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I've walked about 20 in 8 states. So
okay. That's pretty good. All right, let's get into it. So what we're going to do here is, well, first of all, let's go over the charities. So last week, Tyler, Emo Cowboy, won the cage match. We're going to go over our teams from last week after we go over the charities real quick. Tyler was playing for the Houston Humane Society. So the Houston Humane Society going to be getting $100 from Fantasy Points. Congrats to Tyler and to the Houston Humane Society. Jake, as the second place finisher last week, you were going to run it back, playing for Friends of North Augusta Animals. Any words you'd like to say about Friends of North Augusta?
Yeah, I mean, you know them, you love them. Great local charity by me. Hopefully this is the week we can finally get them $100. Love animals, love charities that take care of animals. So yeah, I will continue repping them until something good finally happens.
Nice. I will also be playing for the same charity as last week because I again lost. Mid-Minnesota Legal Aid. Great. They represent people who cannot afford to represent themselves in legal matters in Minnesota. I worked for them briefly as an intern while I was in law school. Great people, great organization. And finally, Emac playing for the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research. Emac, anything you'd like to say about the Michael J. Fox Foundation and why you're playing for them?
Sure. So my dad and grandfather both had Parkinson's, which ultimately led to their demise. So it's always something I'm on the lookout to help out with. And they do a pretty good job. 88 or 89% of their donations actually go back out as part of the charity. So, and he's been around for a long time doing this. So I'm happy to do charity, but you want to be trustworthy, right? So that's why we have ones that we're very familiar with. So we know that we're getting the most value. So
exactly, love the transparency there of the Michael J. Fox Foundation. I played for them once last year, also. Great organization. All right, let's go over last week. This is going to be painful for me. You can see I got crushed last week. It was a brutal week for me. Sometimes you lean into correlations, you lean into one game environment, and it goes very well for you. But as my lineup will show here, the opposite can happen as well. I leaned very much into the Atlanta Falcons. I thought the floor is high here. Somebody's going to put up a big game for the Falcons if I just take all their best players. Turns out that is not the case. I took Bijan Robinson. 16.1, not exactly what you want for 7,900. I've got Drake London, 6,000. I got 10.5 out of him. Kyle Pitts, 7.9. And then the Falcons defense, just 3 fantasy points. So just across the board, drafting all these Falcons absolutely killed me. Felt pretty good about, Carson Wentz at 4,000, getting 15 is not, the end of the world. Tony Pollard, I thought in a good matchup might finally be okay, but they got crushed. He did score a touchdown, but 13.9, kind of so-so. Got 2 touchdowns out of Kenneth Walker. Very inefficient game, just 12 receiving yards, 38 rush yards, but the 2 touchdowns got him to 18. And then CeeDee Lamb, of course, injured in the first quarter, $8,000 getting me a big fat 0. Did not feel great. So, yeah, cannot say I'm particularly thrilled with my team. Kind of had a bad feeling about it last week. Maybe that's just because I came into it hot and told everybody that I'd never lost. So I knew I was jinxing myself. So I didn't feel great about it. I see Tyler in chat. Good to see Tyler celebrating in chat. I guess that's from a while ago. Anyway, not great performance by me last week. Onward and upward. Jake, you did beat me by a pretty significant margin, and 144 points is often going to be the winning score. You just got Tyler came in and put up a huge score. How do you feel about your performance from last week?
Yeah, I feel pretty good about this team. Like you said, 144 is actually a pretty decent score given the format, given that it's just a 3-man. But, Mariota, McCaffrey, and Ricky Pearsall really, really held it down for me. Odunze and Devontae Adams, I was hoping for a little bit more. I really thought Devontae Adams was quite close to putting up a monster game. Obviously, Puka got you there. Stafford was missing a ton in that game and still had some pretty productive wide receiver scores. Juwan Johnson, this is a guy that I'm just going to keep playing until he's like 4,800. I love me some Juwan Johnson. And then, Bucky Irving in a game where there were more than 50 total points only gets me 14. That was a little disappointing. And the real shocker on the week was, Packers defense, 8 points, generally a pretty solid score, nowhere close to the best defensive score of the week. Defensive scoring in week 3 was absolutely crazy. I had a note in the DFS early look that I do with Grant Barfield every week that there were 9 special teams and defensive touchdowns in week 3, which is the most in 5 years. Wild week for defensive scoring. Was really painful on some of those great tournament teams where I did not have Vikings defense. But overall feel pretty good about my team. I figure if I can put up a comparable score this week, I'll have a pretty good chance of winning.
Do we think that that's going to be a trend because of the new kickoff rules? We're just going to see more special teams touchdowns because now teams are being forced to kick it and run it out as opposed to just like kicking it to the back of the end zone, take it at the 25. Now teams are being encouraged essentially to not kick it into the back of the end zone because they get the ball at the 35. So teams are now taking it out a lot more. I wonder if we're going to see a lot more defensive touchdowns going forward. Have you thought about that angle at all?
I don't know if I necessarily have. We had a pair of blocked field goals that were returned. I believe it was Torrey Horton who had the punt return touchdown. But yeah, more kickoff returns should lead to more special teams touchdowns. I imagine this probably will be a pretty strong year for special team scoring. I suppose I hadn't thought about that a ton. Do you have any thoughts on that, Eric?
Yeah, I think there are 5 or 6 per year usually kickoff return touchdowns. I bet we get into double digits, but even a monster increase would be 1 a week for sure. If we, I think his name is Josh Carty, the kicker for the Rams, put a new spin on it on kickoffs by not putting spin on the ball and kind of kicking these knuckleballers, which essentially hit the ground almost every time. And we're giving Bigsby and I can't remember who else was returning for Philadelphia, but we're giving them a little bit of trouble. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of strategies people look to, how they figure to counter that. But I like this a little bit better than the, concussion a week on special teams for everything.
Yeah.
As these gigantic men run at each other at full speed.
Yeah, seems a little better. And then finally, EMAC, you have not had a chance to look at Tyler's team yet. Let me make sure I got the whole thing on the screen. Maybe I need to make it a little bit smaller. He's got the Seahawks defense in there for 16 fantasy points. I don't think I can get the whole thing in the screen, but you can see the rest of it here. How do you feel about this team?
I think he had a really good team there. Well, obviously he won.
Yeah.
But if we look at that, Jordan Mason. Now for those watching, this is a format where each player is only on one of our teams. So yes, we all played lots of Jordan Mason last week, but only one person gets to play someone like that in this contest. So that the fact that he got him was pretty good. I think Taylor was an outstanding play. When I had him, I had good lineups. When I didn't have him, I had CD Lamb. So you kind of fell into that one. The zero is a big difference from someone that's going to score 25 or 30 points. The Daniel Jones gutsy call there. I think we're going to see good things continuing throughout the year for Jones. The improved situation, better offensive line, decent supporting cast here, and change of venue or scenery is probably going to be helpful to him. But he would not be someone I would have thought of going after in this format, but salary cap is a thing. Jackson Smith and Jigba looked good, but Seattle didn't have to do a whole lot because of all the special teams, Tony Orton and just everybody scoring right away there against New Orleans. So I don't want to say lucked out, but kind of ran well for JSN getting his. And then I see Keenan Allen. Boy, as someone who rostered Keenan Allen, I was nervous through the first portion of the game when it looked like it's like, are we really getting 4.9 for 4,900? What's going on here? And he ended up getting his at the end. And apparently Trey McBride's just going to catch touchdowns. So these were all good plays. Nothing was overly crazy that I see here except for Daniel Jones, maybe Devontae Wicks, but again, that's a salary saver. So shout out there to Tyler for crafting this excellent team. Emo Cowboy, for those of you following along on Twitter.
Put up a lot of points. One of the top scorers, Spags actually came in here in week 2 or 3 last year and put up like 195, something insane last year. So that might be, I think that's the highest score that anybody's put up in the cage match, but this one's certainly up there with the high scores. All right. Enough about last week. Let's get into this week. EMAC, as the guest, you get to choose your draft spot. Do you want to go first, second, or third? Again, it's a snake draft, so third is also going to go fourth, etc. We're going to snake back and forth. You should note, in case this matters to you, I will be going first among me and Jake. So if you decide to go second, then I'll go first. Jake will be third. If you go first, I'll be second. Jake will be third.
All right. Well, for those of you that don't know, Neil did pay me to take the third spot. So he's trying to get up back to the top, BOT, back on top. So youngster, you got to know that the old guys know how to work these things. So
did I offer you enough to take the third spot?
I will go third. All right.
EMAC is going.
You offered me the first pick for those really wondering, so I will go third, or the person who could select first. So
yeah. So then I go first, and it is was not anticipating going first, but let me I'll pull something great out here. Just a crusher of a pick. Damn. Okay. I mean, based on the fantasy point projections, we've got some strong ones here. All right, I'm debating between just a couple now. Yep, I'm going to go. Wait.
When do we get to run to the podium here?
This is a tough one. This is a tough one because there's like.
Why do you think I said I'll take third?
Yeah, I get it. I see it. I see why. I'm going to go with. Puka Nacua. I'm going Puka Nacua with the first overall pick.
Yeah, I think that's a really strong pick. Puka is a 9K wide receiver, only 7,900 though. Best game environment of the slate. Also gets a decent amount of slot work. Kenny Moore is going to be out this week for the Colts. So great, just a great spot for Puka. I mean, fantastic pick there. I suppose I'm going second, Neil, since
you are now up
here. Yeah. All right. This is so I work with Scott Barrett on the DFS slate breakdown over at Fantasy Points, and I do find this to be a pretty difficult slate overall. There are plenty of quarterbacks who project well. You'll see that if you go to the Fantasy Points projections. Running back, there's like 6 plays that are looking pretty good, and then after that, it starts to get a little iffy. And I think I want to secure the best of the available running backs, and that's Christian McCaffrey. There are a handful of guys that project sort of similarly from a value perspective, but you just can't beat the workload right now. He's had about 27 expected fantasy points per game. And, sure, he hasn't been particularly efficient, but, Brock Purdy coming back this week, potentially the return of Jawan Jennings, should be pretty strong. I actually projected the 49ers. I helped Chris Wecht out with our projections over at Fantasy Points. And I thought I did something wrong for a second because I saw we had Christian McCaffrey projected for 60 receiving yards. But you look at the target shares, you look at the targets, that makes perfect sense. Christian McCaffrey is tearing it up through the air, adding another 15 or so carries on the ground. Just a really strong play every single week.
Christian McCaffrey was my number 2 option. So we were on the same page with those two as just the two who just project way better than everybody else. There's some other like pretty good point per dollar options. But yeah, that was a struggle. I can definitely see why EMAC chose to go third. EMAC, were you thinking that one of the studs was going to make it back to you at number 3, or do you have other?
I absolutely did. I thought I would get one of those guys at the turn. So we clearly are all on the same page, even though you start to look at it and you're like, oh man, I don't know what to do. My hope was to throw you guys off and one of those guys would slide. Let's see what I do.
Nice try.
Now that neither of them did. So
all right. Do you have an idea what you want to do here?
I do for at least for the first one. So it's pretty easy. I'm going with a guy I like to refer to as Tebow, as in Cam Scat. Tebow here. He will be my first selection here for pick number 3. So his counterpart, Tyrone Tracy, is going to be out for at least 2 to 4 weeks. Even if Tracy was, and that makes his price just that much better. It's probably giving him about $1,200 to maybe $1,400 DK dollar discount in that role. We don't know for sure that he's going to continue to do as well as he did when he popped out there in the last game, but he has a decent college track record and the ability to produce in all facets of the game. And he's going to have a rookie quarterback. So that's the one part that gives me a little trepidation, but it's not like Russell Wilson was someone who really checked down a lot throughout his career. And having been a Seattle fan, I was rooting for him for the large majority of his career and watching those games. So I'm okay with Jackson Dart being under center. The point per dollar aspect, I think, is really good.
Yeah. Scatterboo certainly looking good here. Yeah, I think with Jackson Dart, maybe the offense is just better like at this point. So, yep, looks like a pretty good point per dollar pick. But you get 2 now. Did you have a second player in mind?
I do. So this is where we have to think through what it is we're doing. For those of you that are following along, it's a little tougher than one would expect. But let me get that guy locked in here, and all right. Now I'm going to roll the dice a tiny bit. So this could come back and bite me. And this, for our format here, and like Jake was saying, there's really 6 solid running backs. Because it's a 3-man and we're taking them off the board from each other, that's going to make the flex a very interesting decision point here. Because do you go with another running back? There's lots of receivers that point per dollar work out. We've got lots of quarterbacks that have potential. So I'm going to double down on the rookies, and I'm going to go with Omari and Hampton here. Again, this is the appealing fantasy point per dollar play. He also lost his counterpart this time for the season. Najee Harris is out for the remainder of the year. It was good to see the 7 targets in the last game. He had 2, I think it was 2 in each of the first 2 games, but that is kind of the appealing thing here, plus the salary savings. And now I get a little bit more flexibility. Will there be people to spend up on? I haven't mapped it all the way out because it's going to be, 4 more players are going to go before this comes back to me. But that should give me a little flexibility of grabbing whatever expensive player these guys don't take, because they already will have at least one on their lineup. So that was my theory behind this, in addition to what I think these two guys are going to be super popular from a point per dollar perspective.
I was very much hoping that Omari and Hampton was going to make it back to me, especially after you took Scadaboo. I was thinking, all right, maybe I've got a shot at Hampton here. I didn't know if Jake was going to double up there at running back also. So I was hopeful that maybe I'd get the cheap running back to offset my expensive receiver. But yeah, Hampton, I actually like Hampton better than Scadaboo. I think he's the better point per dollar pick, especially against this Giants defense that's just been a sieve against running backs. So yeah, I love that pick. And Scadaboo, another one that I was definitely going to have to consider. But Hampton to me is the even better pick of the two. Jake, would I have gotten Hampton if UMac had gone with like a receiver there?
I don't think you would have. So I was between Hampton and Jonathan Taylor, and I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor here, and then try to find my value elsewhere. But Hampton's a great play this week. Chargers offense looks fantastic, and I think the one hole you could poke in a guy like Scadaboo is just that the Giants might not be able to move the football with Dart. I'm a Dart believer. I think Dart will likely improve this offense, but easier to see systemic risk for a guy like Scadaboo than it is for Amari Hampton. Yeah.
So, and M. Walden chat has a good point. Did I worry about these players being in the same game? No, not really in this format. You're really stretching. And yes, I agree that mathematically over the course of the entire season, having running backs going against each other isn't always going to be the best thing. But remember, the NFL has evolved and changed. Running's more important. These guys are both the RB1s for their team. Their counterparts got hurt, and their salaries. So, other players, we might not be doing that. And the fact that both these guys will probably catch passes keeps them in the game in most situations. So it's a good question to ask, but in this particular situation, I wasn't that concerned. I bet we could find two running backs squaring off that we would not want on our same rosters in the other 10 matchups that are going on the Sunday main slate, but this one I'm okay with.
It's also a 3-man, which is a little bit different than like in a tournament. It's like I'm more worried about that negative correlation if I'm going against 200,000 teams. But a 3-man, it's like, well, if one of them hits and one of them has like a fine to like slightly bad game, you're not even that mad about that in a 3-man. So yeah, no issue with it in a 3-man. And then we go back to me. All right, so you've both taken 2 running backs now. So now I got to think about, do I need to take a running back, or are there enough out there that I can afford to play a receiver in the flex? So this is a tough equation for me here. I do think.
Does position scarcity come in, or because we can only each take one more running back, do you go a different
Exactly.
direction?
Well, then it's like are there enough running backs left that I'm okay with going a different direction is the question that I'm asking myself now. So I'm doing a little math.
Take one of your coveted running backs and then there aren't any left.
Well, that's why I'm counting them up, Mac, to see like are there enough here that I'd be okay with it. And
clearly you cannot take the drink in front of you because you cannot trust me to not giving you the
point. There are kind of limited. There are limited running backs that I'm really interested in here. Ooh, but there's There are a few. There are a few that I'm like kind of okay with here. I think I am going to go with. Do I take the obvious value? Hang on 1 second. One more second here. Just got to double check some things.
My favorite part about this show is how long it takes Neil to make certain picks and how he'll go like, and then okay.
Yeah.
A lot of nice like interjections in there as he.
You're welcome.
Soaks probably a minute to make one pick.
All right, I'm going to go with the obvious receiver value here. Are we chasing here? I'm going to chase Trey Tucker. I'm going to take Trey Tucker.
Ooh, okay.
Who is the top point per dollar receiver available here? And I'm actually going to double down at receiver. And I'm going to go with Jacoby Myers as well. Taking both the Vegas receivers who are just underpriced for a matchup with the Bears, who just give up all the fantasy points every week. And I'm gonna hope that I can find two running backs that I like elsewhere. If the others that I have in mind do not make it back to me. I think I'm okay with the options beyond the top 6. So yeah, I'm Puka Nacua, Trey Tucker, Jacoby Myers. Jake, you seem surprised by my choices here.
I mean, I like both Trey Tucker and Jacoby Myers. I'm sure they are guys who will both project well this week. I guess it does feel a little chasey on Tucker. You know, it'll be interesting how the ownership shakes out between him and Parker Washington is sort of the other cheap wide receiver that I'm really interested in. And he's actually the guy that I'm going to take with my next pick. Just 3,700. Daimi Brown out this week. Liam Cohen said that Travis Hunter is not going to see increased usage on the offensive end, even though the team is going to be missing Brown, which is very disappointing. This Travis Hunter deployment is sort of the stuff of nightmares. And most of the film guys that I respect are saying like, oh yeah, he looks great. It's just the route share is not quite there. Even after Brown left the game, Travis Hunter was only at about a 55% route share last week. Just super, super disappointing, although some of the design stuff is a little encouraging. I think we're going to have to go back to the well on Travis Hunter MVP here in maybe year 2 or year 3. But I don't think his rookie year is going to be it. But it seems like the team just loves Parker Washington. And this will probably be a higher volume passing spot for Jacksonville against San Francisco. My only concern is that Trevor Lawrence is throwing in passes. And, I mentioned, doing some of the projections with Chris Wecht. I also projected the Jaguars, and that was very disappointing. I did not enjoy that at all. These Trevor Lawrence numbers are terrible, and you have to regress them up because it's like he's not going to complete 60% of his passes in this good of an offense over the course of the season with these kind of playmakers. But I think the price is right enough for Parker Washington that I don't have to be worried. Brian Thomas Jr. though, Travis Hunter, it's concerning.
Unfortunately for right now, it appears that Scott Barrett was right. He was telling us not to draft Travis Hunter. He's not going to be a good fantasy player this year. And all the indications leading up to the season, I was like, all right, Scott was clearly wrong. Like, he's going to be great. He's going to play a lot of offense. He played a lot of offense week 1, and he's just not hitting. I think mostly because of Trevor Lawrence, but then also, just not playing as much as maybe we had hoped. It's sad.
I really didn't think that an OC this sharp would use Travis Hunter in like a 60-50 role on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
At a certain point, it just makes sense to give him one position, doesn't it? Like, and say you're playing 90% of the snaps on defense or 90% on offense, and then, only a handful on the other side of the ball. I'm very confused by this deployment. And obviously, like I said, doesn't help that Trevor Lawrence is just playing awful.
It's just really bad. Yeah. All right, EMAC, it is back to you. You have Cam Scadaboo and Omarion Hampton, 5,500 left per player.
All right. I'm going to go with AJ Brown. I'm surprising myself just a little bit, but I also thought that Jacoby Meyer might come back. So he was on my short list for receivers. I was not thinking at all about Trey Tucker. I felt that was a little bit of a flash in the pan. But if you put it back into the point per dollar framework, then he is someone I probably would have started getting once I X'd out the better running back values from but since I took those running back values, I didn't need him. But I agree that matchup is a very desirable one to go after. And I think in the grand scheme of DFS this week, Trey Tucker should be on the short list. Think of him as 10 fantasy points in full PPR is a better way of thinking about it. Not 3 touchdowns by any stretch, but I think he's one of the better plays there. So the reason I like Brown is they're in Tampa, right?
They are.
Yeah. Or again, I think maybe they're home at Tampa. I live in Tampa and I don't even know. So it was nice to see them remember that they had an expensive wide receiver who was really, really good on their team. We know that the team likes to run the ball, Philadelphia that is, preferably. But Tampa, and I hate using the term run funnel or pass funnel in either side, but with Vita Vea in that line, you got to mention that. And I think Tampa is always exploitable in what folks call that splash zone area, that 15 to 25 yards portion of the field. And that's where I think Brown can do rather well. So along with that plus touchdown equity, I'm good with it. Still a relatively condensed receiving core there, even with Dallas Goedert healthy, and Barkley's in the mix, and he doesn't get a ton of volume, and I don't even remember who their third receiver is. I know they brought in
Jahan Dotson.
Dotson. I thought they picked somebody else up off the scrap heap because Dotson was so bad for all that time in Washington. So that's what we call floatsome and jetsam. They're not concerned. So the salary, though, is really it. And similar to the point being that Puka is still at a discount. Brown is for his talent. Yeah. So hopefully a team without their two best offensive linemen and a shaky pass defense can put a few points on the board here to keep us a little spicy. So
you have another pick though too.
Yes. So buying myself a little bit of time.
First of all, while Emac's looking at other players, I got to say I'm loving the comments. ML says this is a 3-man this tough is basically a milli maker. I think that's a good point from ML. You do need to hit the ceiling against a matchup like us.
And I just want to say that I really agree with that. I haven't won a milli maker, unfortunately. Also have barely won in this contest, so that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, adds up.
This is pretty harsh. I am going to go with. There's a lot of good receivers, and I bet someone will come back. I'm going to round this out for the bit now, and I'm taking Ashton Genty. I'm going with 3 rookie running backs. Now, will Genty actually, can he run? Is he really the lead running back? We'd like to think so here. 17 rushes rushing attempts last week, much better than the 11 he got in week 2, but no targets. That is concerning here. That is concerning. But my hope is that was someone Neil was looking at as a salary saver. And in this 3-man, I'm okay crowding him out. Go, the old guy who can't jump anymore at the Y, but still going to box you and give you the elbow. That's me on the basketball court here. It's Neil. So,
have you considered that Neil already got his value in his receivers?
I feel that little tear rolling down your cheek lets me know that you were thinking about Genty.
I was thinking about Genty there. Yes, you are not wrong. But Genty is somebody that I had in mind. All right, I like it. I'm not mad at it. I'm not angry. I'm not pissed off that Emac took one of the running backs that I wanted. Not at all. It's totally fine.
But 3 rookies, come on, for the
3
old
rookies.
Who would do that? Who would set up themselves?
Yeah.
So. We are sponsored by a family program, a family channel here. So the After Dark version of this episode will be available on Behind the Paywall.
Oh no! All right, Jake. How do you even follow that, Jake?
That's a tough one for me to follow here. I'm debating continuing to run with this, but I think the superior pick is Chris Olave, who is absolutely dominating in any sort of expected fantasy point volume type statistics. I also need to stay, on the lower end of salary spend just because I did pay up for, the 2 best, most expensive running back options on the slate. But yeah, the volume in New Orleans is just fantastic. It's a highly concentrated offense. They're pushing for 70 plays a game. They're also 15.5 point underdogs against Buffalo. And, the Buffalo defense has shown some holes against Miami, against Baltimore. I think New Orleans can put up some points here. But like I said, it's really just tons of plays, massive pass rate, highly concentrated. Things are looking really good for Chris Olave. I imagine he's going to be one of the most popular wide receivers on the week 4 slate in tournaments.
Yeah, nice price tag on Chris Olave. And I appreciate you not taking more running backs and just totally boxing me out.
I was really thinking about it.
Yeah, I'm really glad you didn't. I am going to take James Cook with my next pick. Not a great value here. I'm glad I have the $4,200 Trey Tucker. That helps me a little bit. But at least he saves me a little bit in terms of salary. I see people in chat calling for me to take Trevion Henderson. I don't think we're there yet for a 3-man. I like it better for like a Millie Maker contest, but I don't think I need to see that he's actually like going to take on a bigger workload before I take Trevion Henderson, I think. And I don't think I really need the salary to that extent right now. So I'm going to think about that's some other running backs that I do kind of like here. Genty is one that I was thinking of. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, well, Neil thinks I do really like the James Cook pick. I think he's going to be a really fun play for tournaments this week, although I do figure he'll be pretty popular. If you look through like James Cook's career game logs, almost all of his ceiling games have come in these like huge Buffalo wins. And that's exactly what, Vegas is implying for the Bills this week. The one concern is that New Orleans run defense has been, pretty solid so far, but I mean, he's just been so efficient. The Bills offenses look so good. I don't really think that's a significant concern. And he's priced up enough to the point that I do sort of wonder on ownership, maybe he won't end up more than say 10, 12%, which I think would make him a pretty solid tournament play.
Yeah, true. The other pick I'm going to go with apologies for not going with your guy, Trevion Emwald, I'm going to go with another rookie running back, Quinshon Judkins. I think is just the workload is elite there. I'm a little bit afraid of this Detroit defense. I don't totally love it from that standpoint, but I think Quinshon Judkins, like he had success against the Packers, which I think is maybe the best run defense in the NFL, or certainly up there. So I think the workload is good enough for Judkins that he can pay off this price tag. And I need another running back and a little bit of a salary saver there. So I'm feeling good about Judkins this week. And now I will send it back to Jake.
Yeah, I really like that Judkins pick. He was the guy who I was considering taking to just like totally box you out of running backs. That probably would have forced you to a Trevion Henderson pick. And yeah, maybe if I was a little better with cage match game theory, that would have been the direction that I went. Let's see here. This feels pretty wide open. I think there are plenty of solid options. There's no one who's really popping. I'm going to go with, I think I can afford it from a salary perspective. I'm going to go with a guy who kind of helps me out with a little bit of a mini game stack and what is, like I noted earlier, easily the best game environment of the slate. Devontae Adams at 6,200. We know where the targets are going to go in Los Angeles. It's all Puka Nacua. It's all Devontae Adams. Both guys feel pretty underpriced here. Really like Devontae Adams. I see you're trying to psych me out by pulling up the news. Yeah. I'm not concerned. He finished the game last week. So
all right. Had to try.
Yeah. Thank you.
EMAC, by the way, I didn't tell you this rule, which is if you do draft a player who ends up being out, you can swap your player one for one with any other player that was not picked. Okay. So if you end up with a player who's out, you can swap that player.
Okay.
All right. And then EMAC, you have 2 picks now. You have 5,200 left per player, needing a quarterback, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and a defense.
Oh, the game logs have not been good, but I am going to go with Drake London here. 5,700 going against Washington. I like the opportunity there for him. We have to hope that former University of Washington quarterback Michael Penix gets his act together. We got to remember he's only played in 6 NFL starts, but was a little bit concerning last week. Just a hint.
Tell me about it. Since I took all of their players, I did not love seeing that. He looked better against the Vikings. Sean G asks, how close is Penix to getting benched? I think kind of close. Well, the coach quote this week was, Kirk got himself benched last year. Michael Penix just had one bad game. He's not close, but I don't totally believe that. I kind of think
I don't know though. I mean, it's Kirk Cousins as the backup, and the only other guy on the roster is Emory Jones, who's on IR. I should check to see who their practice squad quarterback is, but I mean, I think you just got to let it ride with Penix and hope he can figure it out. Give him a pretty long leash, unless you think maybe this is a Bryce Young type situation where a few weeks off could help him. But generally, I think just trot him out there, let it rip. It's looking like, though, Atlanta's going to be a bit more of a disappointment from a fantasy perspective than we were all sort of hoping. I know that was an offense pretty much everyone that I know was excited about going into the year.
Yeah. Good point from ML too. Says you don't do what the Falcons did to take Penix to bench him, where they had Cousins and then shocked the world by taking Penix much earlier than expected. Yeah, true. All right, Emac, you get one more pick here.
All right. There are several viable guys, position players, skill position players. The defense is too early for a defense. God. I am going to go with Josh Allen. Ooh. It's sort of boxing me into a couple tougher clicks here. The thought being that since I've already used up my flex, I'm stuck at wide receiver, so I'm going to leave myself the value chance there. The worry about Josh Allen is he just doesn't need to do a whole lot against New Orleans. The hope is most of it is done by him, either passing or maybe he runs one in. We know they want to take it a little easy with him, but if you look when it comes to rushing, but when you still look at the numbers, even last year, the last 2 years, he didn't have all the massive touchdown run like he did a couple years ago. But last year, he still ended up with about as many carries as he had in prior years, and he was just as efficient. It just didn't with James Cook getting 16 touchdowns, tying Derrick Henry for the the league lead. It just felt like Josh Allen didn't have to do everything. He was quietly doing everything, but
true.
It just didn't have that same hit as it did in prior years, even when he had better receivers. But I think when I make excuses for taking the reigning MVP, I can't. So.
Yeah, 42 under left per player, but that's includes a tight end and a defense, so you're actually not in that bad of a.
Yeah, there are ways he doesn't crack 20 fantasy points this week because Buffalo rolls.
Yeah, and it's all James Cook. Yeah, that's the hope. Jake is just now hoping that Buffalo does not put up a lot of fantasy points because I've got Cook, Emacs got Allen, so you just got to cheer against
Buffalo.
Go
with their defense. Look at that.
Just wait till Keon Coleman has 2 rushing touchdowns, and then you guys are
that could be kind of painful.
Yeah, I think there's 2 different directions I could go here, and they're both probably fine. Man, this is a really interesting week at quarterback. I do like that Josh Allen pick. Emac especially thinking about him for tournaments, like no one's going to want to pay up to Lamar or Josh Allen given the quarterback value on the board. For a 3-man, I guess from a point per dollar perspective, it's not quite as good, but the upside there is obviously awesome. I'm going to go with Hunter Henry. Pretty much the only reliable target in New England. They've been mixing up these wide receiver rotations in a fairly frustrating way, and Drake May has been willing time and time again to go to his tight ends. And, this Carolina defense is certainly nothing to fear. Currently our best projected tight end value over at fantasypoints.com.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, you call Trey Tucker chasey and then you take Hunter Henry. I mean, come on. Could you be any chasier?
I mean, to be fair, I feel like Hunter Henry's always earned more consistent volume than Trey Tucker. But I really shouldn't badmouth my guy, fellow Bearcat Trey Tucker. We were in school together.
Oh, he's a Bearcat. Oh, no way.
Yeah. That's crazy. He was of the 3 receivers on that 2021 playoff team. It was him, Alec Pierce, and Tyler Scott. And I think a lot of scouts all thought Tyler Scott was like the most NFL ready guy, and he's like a practice squad player now. And Alec Pierce and Trey Tucker are both starters.
Crazy,
which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. I mean Hunter Henry, I think it's just a pretty good tight end. Don't actually have any issue with that. All right, it's back to me. I've got a quarterback, tight end, flex, and defense left to take here. Let's see. We've got some good values at quarterback, tight end. I feel like my instinct is not actually at the top of like the point per dollar for tight end, but I'm gonna take a look and see. Like, am I totally crazy for what I'm thinking about doing? I might be. Yeah. Probably not good enough point per dollar. Maybe I'll hold off. All right, hang on. Gotta read the injury notes here.
This is great. I feel like this is also what happens when you have a host who has not looked at the slate at all until he does his Wednesday show.
Jake, no, I've been tirelessly working on this slate.
Yeah.
I thought, all right, I'm doing David and Njoku.
Sure, man.
David and Njoku. And then I'm going with
Neil, I know you just drafted David and Njoku. Were you aware of Harold Fannin? Did you know about him?
I'm a huge fan of Harold Fannin.
Okay.
No pun intended. Yeah, no, I thought about taking. He was actually, when I was saying, is this too crazy? I was thinking about taking Harold Fannin, and then I just looked at the projections. I'm like, okay, Njoku just projects much better for $100 more. So I decided for a 3-man, probably I don't need to go to Harold Fannin. But then if Njoku ends up being out, I can swap to Harold Fannin. Is the thought?
Unless someone else takes Harold Fannin.
Well, then that is true. Then I could swap to Kyle Pitts or something. All right. Oh man, I'm gonna go with Geno Smith. Complete the so it's not. I'm not going the top point per dollar, but I'm completing the double stack here.
You know, Geno does project pretty well in our stuff right now over at Fantasy Points. He's a guy that I'll probably end up writing up for the slate breakdown. I know he had a decent game last week against Washington, although some of that production came in garbage time. But I don't mind the Geno pick. It's just a really interesting quarterback slate, I think, where like we have all these guys in sort of like the mid 5s, low 6s who project pretty well. There's Jackson Dart, who obviously projects as a solid value. But none of them really seem like great plays overall on paper. So it'll be really interesting to me to see how like quarterback ownership projections shake out this week. Because I think at running back, wide receiver, it's a bit more straightforward in terms of who the just straight up best plays are. All right, so it's me here. I've got quite a powerful squad at the running back position, but I can't quite spend up too much at quarterback. Let's see here. I'm going to take... Oh, this is tough. I'm going to go with Caleb Williams. Take the other side of Neil's game. I debated completing the stack with Drake May. They're very comparably projected right now. My thing with Caleb is like, look, he's not playing that well when you just watch the film, but this offense is like wonderfully coordinated. He's got some playmakers and he's running a lot. You know, 2 of his 4 best career fantasy games have come this season under Ben Johnson. Raiders defense looks pretty weak. Scott Barrett pointed out when we were chatting earlier, Raiders only had 4 pressures in week 3. And Caleb's the kind of guy who really excels when you give him a little bit of time. So, yeah, I like Caleb this week. I imagine the Bears will be one of the most popular stacks. It's a very, very, very easy one to do. You know, Caleb Williams and Romo Dunze this week. So, yeah, that'll be interesting to see. But I do like Caleb quite a bit, especially for this format.
Yeah, I like that game in general.
Yeah.
No issue with that one. Have you considered the fact that Emac and I both have quarterbacks though? That's the one bit of gamesmanship that you could have pulled is just wait on your quarterback because you can wait as long as you want.
I could have, but like I have flex and defense left, and there aren't really any flex plays that get me particularly excited. So I'll take whatever falls to me. I mean, I suppose it would have been slightly better game theory wise to go flex now, but
I get it though. If you don't actually have a preference, then just let Emac decide for you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not, I mean, you know, when I have had strong preferences, it's not like those have worked out particularly well given my history.
All right. So you want to go against your gut. I see that.
Yeah,
that actually makes a lot of sense.
Sometimes I do get the urge to inverse myself.
Yeah, smart guy.
In this format.
You've learned.
Respectable.
Yeah. Emac, you get 2 picks now. You've got 4,200 left per player with a defensive tight end and a wide receiver.
Yeah, I just want to see. I can't believe I'm going to do this, but 11 sacks in the last 2 games. I got to go with the Detroit Lions.
All right.
Little spendy there for the Motor City Kitties at 3,500, but similar to what Jake said, there are plenty of ways to fill out a flex here. So let me get those guys in, which I still have a receiver to go, right? And
one receiver, one tight end.
Okay.
Dan Brown asked, "Does Neil ever lose?" The answer is rarely, but I did in fact last week. For the first time, by the way, for the first time getting 3rd place, and the first time not getting first this year. So,
oh really? You've won these other 2 efforts?
I won the first 2 and then got 3rd place last week.
Right.
After I started bragging about it, didn't work out.
Oh God! All right, I know. I'm hurrying. I can't do that. I'm going to go Jawan Johnson.
Yeah, I think that's a very strong pick. I was between Jawan Johnson and Hunter Henry for my tight end spot. Both are among top.
Yeah, I mean it feels like, oh, is that really the kind of thing that I want to do? But he is on the field so much at this point. He has what appears to be, as the old timers say, a good rapport with this quarterback, and he's a big target. And if Buffalo is going to be bringing things, we know the big targets closest to the quarterback tend, especially young and inexperienced ones like Rattler, tend to get those targets. So I'm okay with it. I mean, it'd be more fun if he was 3,700, but I think he is a reasonable play here. And I would have been okay even taking him against the Bills defense. I was looking at the Bills defense, but he ends up being the guy I like the most of the players left. Yeah, and it's flipping coins because you look at Chingokonkwo, you can look at Tyler Warren. There were options, but because I got to figure out my wide receiver, saving a tiny bit from Warren, I think is a better idea.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you for congratulating me on the rare loss. All right, Jake, it is back to you. You have 4,600 left per pick with a defense and flex remaining.
Yeah. Okay. I think I figured out what I want to do here. In my flex, I'm going to complete the stack. I'm going to go Romo Dunze. Like I said, I really wasn't crazy about any of these picks, which was part of the reason that I went quarterback with my last pick. I was playing around with a few combinations. I sort of liked, Keenan Allen plus Bills defense, but I feel like Romo Dunze and the defense that I'm looking at here is going to give me the best combo of projection and ceiling for what little ceiling's worth, of course, in a 3-man contest.
It's worth something. It's worth a bit, especially in a tough match like this.
Yeah, in a Millie Maker style 3-man like this.
So I have 10,700 left over. That's a lot of salary left over for my flex and defense. All right, so I'm going to look. Raw projection. Oh, man. What was that?
Was that you, Tom? That was awesome.
That was pretty good.
That was really good. I liked that a lot. Yeah, I feel like maybe we should institute some kind of a shot clock, mostly because I need every advantage I can get, and I do feel like average time to pick. I've smoked Neil historically.
No, that's not true. Listen. Because I'm hosting, I can't look at anything while you guys are going. I have to be doing the picks and stuff. So it's I'm at a huge competitive disadvantage here.
The crowd is letting it be known.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going. Screw you guys. I'm going with. Wait. And Saquon's still available too. All right. Why does Saquon not project better? Bijan
he's
laps
been
the field.
The efficiency has been like brutal for Saquon. Obviously, I don't think that's particularly sticky, but if you look at any Saquon metric through the first 3 weeks, it is concerningly bad. I don't think that'll hold up, of course, over the full season, but I would imagine that is influencing the projection a little bit. Eagles have been struggling with run blocking a little bit as well.
All right, I'm going with Bijan because he just projects way better. I can't justify it. And then I'm going with the Titans defense, leaving 200 on the table. There you go. Team is done. Sending it back to Jake. You have 2,900 for your defense.
Yeah, this is an easy one, and this gives me great leverage over Neil. I'm going Bears defense. So I've got the entire Chicago side of this game. Neil has the Las Vegas side. Can't wait for Caleb Williams, Romo Dunze, Bears defense to combine for, probably 100 DK. Geno Smith gets benched mid-second quarter. Trey Tucker probably also gets benched for Jack Beck. It's going to be a bloodbath in Chicago.
I mean, it couldn't get much worse than Atlanta did for me last week, to be honest.
Yeah, that's true.
EMAC 4,900 for a wide receiver.
All right. Well, this is where it gets a little tricky because I probably should have seen what defense could do for me. So we have choices here. If I wanted to go the full 4,900, it's going to be Jerry Jeudy or Calvin Ridley. The issue with Jeudy is I don't know that they're airing it out this game. Against Detroit, and Detroit has a decent defense. So, I should say, I don't know that it's a track meet, but Jeudy is intriguing. So we're thinking about him. Calvin Ridley, the other option, but quarterback is young, and then you've got a coach that may be a moron. We're not sure. Could just been a momentary lapse of reason, and then you have veteran Christian Kirk, who would have me leaving $500 on the table, but in a format like this, I'm not going to worry about that because it's just the way it's going to shake down. He does have a slightly lower projection than his two counterparts, but he has the better quarterback at this point. So I am trying to coin flip between Jerry Jeudy and Christian Kirk. I'm going to spend all my money, and I'm going to go with Jerry Jeudy here. Now, that is going against my Lions defense. That's not going to stop me from doing it. I'm more hoping that Jeudy is peppered with targets, and he actually catches them. I'm probably going to look back at Christian Kirk and say, I wish I would have just left the $500 on the table, but Jeudy at least has played every game this season. Kirk still probably slightly thinking about the hamstring. So
ultimately, Mac, your team is done. We're all done with our teams. How do you feel about how your team looks? It's on the screen right now. How do you feel about it?
Not too shabby at all. The only one maybe I tweak a little bit is fill that receiver first and leave defense for last.
Okay.
That's really the only, because at defense, I mean, in the DraftKings scoring, if you don't get a touchdown, you're probably scoring between 6 and 8 points.
Right.
And it's going with the Lions. Well, I like that matchup and all of that, and the 11 sacks or whatever it is in the last 2 games is impressive. And Aiden Hutchins is outstanding, but I probably should have gone receiver there.
Okay. Jake, to you use your full salary cap. How do you feel about the team?
I feel pretty good about the team. My only trepidation would be leaning into Chicago, but like I said, this is a great offensive coordinator, should be a solid game environment, and a good matchup with a Raiders defense that I don't think is particularly good. Love my running back options. These are 2 of our top 3, highest point per dollar running backs, and Christian McCaffrey and Jonathan Taylor. It gives me a great, guaranteed workload, probably looking at 50 expected fantasy points between the 2. And then a wide receiver, I feel like I got a lot of top values between Parker Washington, Olave, and Devontae Adams. So overall, feel pretty good about the team. But you know what, Neil? I say that every week. So we'll see how I feel about the team 7 days from now when we review it.
That's right. And I feel okay about the team. I don't totally love my team. Trey Tucker was a tough one for me because he's the very clear top value by point per dollar. Looking at two projection sources that I'm looking at, including Fantasy Points, has him as the top point per dollar value at wide receiver. So I took him in part because you guys had both taken expensive running backs. Actually, Emax was not that expensive, but I thought somebody else is going to take the best value at wide receiver. I should take him there, and then couldn't take him and not take Jacoby Myers, because I also think just in that matchup with Chicago, teams are going to eat, and Jacoby Myers is actually, I think, the better click. So it was like somebody's going to take Trey Tucker, I think, but also I really like Jacoby Myers. So ultimately took 3 wide receivers to start, which I'm not sure if that was optimal. Maybe I could have just left Trey Tucker and taken some other value, because what I don't like about him, so even though he's a great point per dollar value, he's still very boom bust, which is like not necessarily what you want in a 3-man. Ultimately okay with it because I like the matchup. Also don't love Njoku at tight end. Feels like okay. I do think that like they're going to be pressured quite a bit by that Detroit defense. They're going to be checking it down. Could have been Njoku, could have been Fannin. I took the guy who just projects better because it's a 3-man. Kind of thought I needed to. I don't know. I think this team has a wide range of outcomes, which not necessarily what I want from a 3-man, but I feel okay about it. I think it's got a shot to win here, and hopefully get out of the basement at the very least. All right, that's it. We're done. We're done with the teams. EMAC, what do you have coming up? Where can people find you?
You guys can find me over at Stochastic. I do weekend shows there. 6 o'clock or 6:30 will be the final regular season MLB show. And then Sunday at 7:15, I will be doing the NFL Live Before Lock. You guys will see Neil before that. So we're not quite direct competitors, but we still get into fisticuffs now and then on those YouTube streams. Do we all project? One question I have, are we all projecting for, because I don't have all of us set up in an optimizer, are we all projecting kind of in the 135 to 140 range? Is that usually how this filters out?
Yeah, I would certainly assume so. I generally don't like plug the projections in until Friday. But I can I'll tweet it out.
I should have said it a different way. I would assume we all are probably within about 6 or 7 points of each other, because even while I can't get this guy, there's almost always a comparable fantasy point per dollar at a different position, and then the delta, in the 2v2s against your counterparts tend to come out in the wash. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm guessing pretty close. Jake, what do you have coming up? Where can people find you?
All my work is over at fantasypoints.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake Tribby. Got cashing points every Friday night at 7 p.m. I will be hosting, joined by Grant Barfield, Ryan Heath. Occasionally, Scott Barrett will grace us with his presence over there. And then also helping Scott Barrett out with his Saturday morning DFS slate breakdown. I write a lot of the blurbs. They're often heavily edited by Scott, but I do have a good amount of words that make their way into the slate breakdown. So
nice.
Always a good article, always a must read. And that is an exclusive too for Fantasy Points subscribers. And I know something that Scott goes off of a lot for Outside the Box, which is Neil, I know a show that you're on that's quite popular.
I will be on Outside the Box with Scott on Saturday. I'll be on my own channel in the Flannelverse YouTube channel. I think there's a link in the chat. Otherwise, you can search it. I'll be doing two shows tomorrow for the Thursday Night Football slate. First with Adam Ship My Money Share. We're going to do a full slate breakdown tomorrow at usually it's around 12:30 Eastern. And then I'll also be on before lock, about 85 minutes prior to lock. 5 minutes after inactives come out is about when I start to do another slate breakdown. I actually build my lineups right on the stream before lock for Thursday football. And tomorrow, doing a giveaway. I got to 5,000 subscribers for the channel this weekend. I said I would do it this week, a giveaway for people. So I'll be giving away some subscriptions to the YouTube channel tomorrow. And then I'll do a random drawing of people of my YouTube, people who are members at that point, for a Flannelverse hat as well. So I'll be doing that during the stream tomorrow night on my channel. But yeah, that's it. And at Fantasy Points tomorrow, also going to have an article coming out on the Thursday Night Football channel. So you can find all my Thursday Night Football stuff tomorrow. But that's it. Really appreciate you, EMAC, coming on here, hanging out with us, drafting with us. Best of luck to you. Best of luck, Jake. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us. We'll catch you next week. See you later.
What?
Why are you shaking your head? You're welcome.